We are live with Godless Engineer. So how about that? Uh, so how the hell did all this happen? I mean, you obviously got under John's skin really early because
Well, yeah, apparently. So basically I kind of stumbled across his video, and I just responded to it like I normally do, and he latches on pretty hard apparently. And so he just wouldn't let it go, and then he made a public call out video where he was calling me out to debate. And so we I tried to set up a debate one time with him, and he ended up not like really responding at all. I don't know what the issue was, but he ended up not setting it up then, and then so he wanted to set it up through Standing for Truth, and so we did, and we finally got nailed down on a date, and we had the debate.
yeah, and it was kind of a shit show for him anyway. I don't know. He really thought he did well. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why he thought he did well.
They always do.
I mean, he literally said that that chemical processes are not chemical processes, as far as DNA interacting with RNA, and then the mitochondria producing amino acids. Apparently, none of that are chemical reactions to him.
Yeah. He has sort of been implying lately that almost like he thinks God's fingers are in all of this somehow. And I don't, he's very confused. He said some things. The people on this channel, we all know our shit, about genetics and paleontology and a few other, we each have some, different fields, and we listen to him. And sometimes he says things. I described it this morning. If you taught a parrot 100 words about quantum mechanics, and the parrot just randomly made sentences, every now and then one of those sentences would make sense, and you'd have to stand up and go look up a paper on it, right, to see if the fucking parrot was actually onto something. and that's the way John is. And he said some things during your debate that we're going to deal with on Friday or Saturday night at the Atheist. They are just, oh my God. If you know genetics and you listen to this guy talk, and programming. I mean, when he talks about, I don't know, I'm very pedantic. Not many people know what the ASCII code is, but he keeps getting it wrong. He keeps leaving out a few zeros and acting like he's such a professional, and he just drives me crazy. Have you heard him talk about programming and had this feeling of, what the fuck? Have you?
Well, other than his comparison of programming code to DNA code, I haven't really heard him discuss too much like programming, like actual specifics about programming. I mean, he seems to be good at throwing around a bunch of buzzwords, but that seems to be all he's good at.
Well, one time he says, people are trying to decide between Python and Ruby on Rails, and that's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, I mean, if he had called out that Python Rails like platform, that would have made sense. But he's just throwing, and then he says HTML compiles into binary or some fucking thing, and just shit that
what?
Yeah, he said HTML compiles into HTML and CSS, they compile into binary, and it's like, no, they don't. And it's just other things like that where you can tell that he's just a script kiddie. That he may have done a WordPress site or two, but he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He wouldn't know a programming language if it bit him on the ass. And
yeah, I have no idea why he might say that HTML compiles into binary.
Because he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's why. And he wants to sound like he knows what he's talking about. And that's a problem. And he does the same thing in genetics. And he gets away with it because if you don't, like, even with me, every now and then he will say something and I have to go look it up and see if maybe some new discovery's been made. And oftentimes I find that he's just talking out of his ass. And it's getting ridiculous. I mean, something has got to be done about these assholes. I don't know. Okay, so I saw you like face palming and rolling your eyes during the debate because he was going off on he was going off on you personally, and he was going off into areas that didn't make any sense. At one point, he starts talking about it. You asked him about evolution, and he starts talking about abiogenesis. And I don't know.
Well, that's because he's primarily focused with, he's primarily focused on abiogenesis because to him, unless you can prove that abiogenesis happened, then you can't prove that evolution occurs.
Right.
And he doesn't understand that the two things are distinct, like distinctly different.
Yeah, but if you start talking to him about abiogenesis, he'll start talking about highly evolved ribosomes in human beings 4.2 billion years later.
Yeah.
And you can't pin him down on anything. But the thing about your point was that it's not okay. DNA is a code, or we could think of it as a code, but that's just us, and that's how we understand things. And it does match up to the word code, but it is not a programming code. And it seems like he obfuscated.
Yeah, a lot of people take that particular nuance and they throw the nuance out. And so whenever they try to paint me as saying that we can't interpret DNA as a code, or that DNA doesn't conform to how we would describe a code. But the actual argument I was making was that DNA is not a programming code, or it's not a code in the same way that like you would program a computer or something like that. Maybe I can agree to maybe I wasn't as explicit as I should be in that particular argument, but I felt like the context in which I was responding in, it was clear at the time, but in the future I'll definitely be a lot more specific. But they're always going to be able to find ways to quote mine and to take me or anybody else out of context.
Yeah. They were doing that again to me last night, and you. They spent maybe 20 minutes tearing down a video that I did yesterday morning about information and biosemiotics, and I haven't listened to it yet, but I have to see if they have anything valid to say. But mostly it was just add-on bullshit. Like,
it seems like their go-to argument is just, "Oh, you're an idiot," and I don't know. I'm really not. I don't really think I'm going to be engaging like John Maddox or anybody in that particular realm until they can actually grow up and have an adult conversation. Because as of right now, I mean, they just look like they're children throwing mud at people.
Yeah. Well, right in the middle of his hangout last night, he played a clip where Otangelo talked to Jimmy Snow and his co-host, Jen Aldrich.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they did was go full-on sexist assholes on her. And we're going to play all that on this weekend because I think they were just assholes. I mean, I can't. I don't know what they're thinking. I have no idea. And as far as going on their channels, I will not go on and talk to them at all because every atheist that goes on is just fodder for their preaching. They have this they see themselves as evangelical warriors, but the truth of the matter is they just want to embarrass people and feel superior. Fucking assholes.
Well, what they embarrass, like in quotes. I mean,
right, in quotes, yeah. Like Nicholas Cage.
They only seem to embarrass people that come onto their channel to themselves. Like that. I mean, that's really the only people that think that anybody gets embarrassed.
Good. Jen Aldrich has been made aware. Great. Because that shit has got to go on record because she was perfectly reasonable She had very intelligent things to say. She came on as a co-host. She did not come on as an object for them to make comments about. And that's what the fuck is wrong with this whole thing. I mean, if a woman walks into this arena, they just chew her up. I mean, it's just like, what the hell is wrong with you people? I called them, I don't know. Go ahead.
I mean, I told Standing for Truth to never contact me again after in John Maddox's premiere of the debate. He basically said that I needed to grow thicker skin he said that I needed to grow some balls and quit being a pussy.
Yeah.
And, honestly, that kind of
Rhetoric.
I don't even know what to call it. That kind of immaturity, that level of immaturity, I really don't think needs to even be acknowledged until at least for me, until they can actually grow up a bit and quit with the dude broing and as if they're teenagers.
Yeah.
I really don't think that anybody should acknowledge that entire group, in my opinion. And I mean, normally I wouldn't have that opinion. I would think that anybody, regardless of size or attitude, should be countered. But I think it's just fueling their fire to keep acknowledging them.
Yeah, the thing is that he is very good at putting words together and coming up with papers, and so is Standing for Truth and Raw Matt. Standing for Truth and Raw Matt are going to be a continual project because they're putting out so much information. But John and Smokey, I think they need to be dealt with and then shelved, like you're talking about, and ignored. But shit, they're up to like 700 subscribers. I got 100. They're getting attention from somewhere, somehow, and they're putting out this pseudo scientific sounding bullshit, and somebody has to counter it. But for us to counter it takes a lot of work. Yeah, like the stuff he did with you on binary. So I'm just going to be very direct and say that Godless. I don't know how you put engineer after your name. And he goes on about where he tells you what the binary code for capital A is. And John continually leaves out 2 zeros when he says that, right? And it drives me crazy. I'm like a really old assembly, early microcomputer programmer, where there was a time when ASCII codes really were important. I don't think they are so much anymore. I mean, how often do you look up ASCII codes, as a professional? But anyway,
well, so he goes on. In my day job, we have to translate our information into binary code. So, I mean, I've had to use it recently, but that's just because my job, writes and reads binary data files.
Okay, so you're dealing right with binary. But anyway, he doubles down and makes the case that DNA is binary. It is not in any way binary. I mean, you can look at it and say, okay, it's a 6-bit code, for 64 possibilities. But I mean, there's nothing binary. And he kept pushing that, and I couldn't believe it. It's just, and then he goes on. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think one fundamental misunderstanding that John has about the code that we have, the code that can be interpreted in DNA versus programming code, and this is something that he touched on in the debate, is this foreknowledge of what would happen afterwards.
Right.
It seems like John thinks that there's foreknowledge as to what amino acids are going to be produced, and that is why the DNA code is there, instead of the DNA code just being there and being translated and producing these amino acids. And it's like the DNA code has no idea what is going to happen when the RNA is like read by the mitochondria, or whatever.
Right.
There's no foreknowledge, but he thinks there's foreknowledge, which obviously in actual programming code, you would have foreknowledge as to what needs to happen with a certain piece of code in a certain state. like you would have to have foreknowledge about what would happen. But in the case of DNA, there's just no foreknowledge, but he seems to think there is.
That's like saying a river has to have foreknowledge in order to carve its course.
Right.
You know, that is, and they cannot get that through their heads that there is no inferential connection between if it's complicated and if it's code like then it has to be intelligently designed. They never make, for them, that is a given. That's how they think about the world. So they think we're idiots because we don't see what they see. Well, what they see ain't real, and they keep seeing it. It's like they're crazy people, and they're seeing a spook and calling us idiots because we don't see their hallucination, and it drives you crazy because the Maddox criticized me for not going after specific arguments. The thing is, he only has one argument, and that's it. It's a code, therefore it has to have foreknowledge. It's like, and then and then he was he tries to embarrass everybody he goes up against. Like I had a debate with him, and I was ready for him, and the debate just turned into shit because he couldn't embarrass me with anything. I embarrassed him. Of course, it went right over his fucking head. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm
anyway,
guessing a lot of things go over his head without him really understanding it.
Yeah, they will listen. Like I did a video yesterday on biosemiotics, which is, takes semiotics, which was, kind of an old communication theory started in 1900 and kind of gaining some steam. So now they turned it into biosemiotics. And he insists that him and Nephilim, because it's semiotics, that it has to be intelligently designed or whatever. So I did an explanation of why that's not the case. And they took it apart online, and I haven't watched it yet. I am horrified to see what they got out of it. I thought I did a really good job of explaining what it is about and, what a biosemiotic relationship is. And then he talks about the Royal Society. Have you heard that?
Yeah, he mentioned that in the debate, like as if because I disagreed with him, I inherently wanted to inform the Royal Society that they were wrong or something like that. I don't know. It seemed like a really dipshit kind of argument to make.
Yeah, and if he went to the Royal Society and started spouting his ideas, they'd probably escort him out in a police car because nobody. There was an episode, or there was an issue of Royal Society, I think 2016, and I have all the papers, and I've read all the papers, and they're talking about information in biology. We're going to be going over one this evening called by Kunin. I think the name is Information in Biology, and he misrepresents them. None of those papers have any agreement at all with what John is stating. Yet he keeps going to that because he's like, he's like a parrot or like a chicken who picks a little piece, a little nugget here, a little nugget there, and he puts together whatever in the hell he wants to see. And sometimes I just want to shake him. Just grab him and shake him. It's like, John, fuck. I don't know. It's just, what do we do?
Well, I mean, I think, countering their bad information with good information is good. And I think that their arguments definitely do need to be addressed. But definitely a direct interaction with them only fuels their fire, in my opinion.
No, I'm not doing that anymore. No.
Huh?
I will do it if they'll come onto my channel and agree to talk about, like, standing for truth will come on, and we're going to agree to talk about something very specific and in detail. We're gonna talk about the science. That's the only platform I will give them. Mm-hmm. I won't give them a Gish Gallup platform by going on their channel. So
okay, no, that's perfectly fine. I was more or less speaking for me. Like I'm not going to discuss anything with Standing for Truth, but I mean, if anybody else wants to, I mean, feel free.
Yeah. That, and I respect it. I wish I could let it go sometimes, but I don't think I can yet. But anyway, it's a good thing to ignore them too. I don't know, especially after the way you get treated when you go on that channel for a debate is it's I mean, standing for truth. I got to say that of all the people, the opinion among all of us atheists and agnostics are that standing is probably the best of the bunch. If you listen to him when they're going on and with their bro stuff, he doesn't join in as much. He will occasionally, and of course, we all would, but he seems to have more integrity than the rest of them. So a lot of us still haven't ruled him out. So, but I got to hand it to him. But what I won't hand to him is why in the hell is he associating with these jerks? I don't know. He's a better man than.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that it's more about being part of the group rather than anything else. I think he likes being part of the group, but I mean, I don't mean to speculate on his motivations for hanging around them. He could just genuinely like them, but yeah. I mean, I see the appeal of how he comes off standing for truth, but just my experiences with that group in general and how they're I don't know. I get the feeling that they're very two-faced because, on the one hand, they want to seem nice so that people will acknowledge them, come on their channels, debate them, and everything like that. But then, when they think nobody's looking or it's only in their group, they seem to just turn into these immature children.
I've seen a little of that from standing. I've caught him up on a few things, but yeah. For the most part, he's been pretty above board. He's easy to talk to and stuff usually, but the rest of them, I don't know. I don't have much use for him. Did you see the Raw Matt thing where we caught Raw Matt, Dapper Dino, and TD Lane and I were on a stream, and I had downloaded his paper from the day before, and he fraudulently put a PLOS biology icon like he had been published.
Yeah. I heard something about that. I didn't get a chance to see it, but that makes it funny.
It was funny. and he wants to he kind of denied it a little bit in comments, but they've been pretty silent about it. But I mean, that was just misrepresentation. And Ram has another cup of tea where he'll cite papers that he has not even looked at or glanced at, and he'll cite them as supporting his claim. And he is like he's a snake oil salesman is what he is. He is I don't know, that guy is weird. I don't know. Standing, he does the Gish Gallop. He'll put out 10 papers and just show them real quickly and go from one topic to another, and sound so confident. By the end of it, if you're not really paying attention, you'll say, God, this guy must have something. And then you look at it. You start looking at it. When you play it back, look at each paper piece by piece. It just all falls apart.
Well, I mean, just for instance, with Standing for Truth's argument about Y chromosomal Adam and mitochondrial Eve, and I've made this point on a video before, which, I mean, he disagrees with me, but he seems to cherry pick the information about both of them to suggest that, these two individuals seem to have confirmed the biblical account. Yep. But the biblical account is that two people, mated and gave birth to the entire human race. And the thing is that Y chromosomal Adam and mitochondrial Eve lived thousands of years apart. And so you're cherry picking scientific information in order to make it look like it confirms your point, but it really doesn't.
If you took any gene at all, you could go back and find an ancestor of that gene, but it would always be a different ancestor for any group of people. I mean, It would be mitochondrial, this gene, it would be this gene, the genal Adam and genal Eve, all the way back. I mean, it would just, it's more complicated when you have sexual reproduction, but you can still go back with coalescence and you can find this common ancestor of everything. And they're all going to be different. They're never going to be in the same population, and they don't get that. They think it's absolute proof. They misuse these pedigree studies, where you take samples from father, mother, child, grandparents, or whatever, and you come up with a certain mutation rate. But then there's overall, you can't use that to determine what a mutation rate in a population is going to be, because it's going to be populations are much more complicated. A lot of those mutations are going to drift out. They're going to be, some will be reversed, especially with mitochondria. You cannot do what they're doing. And they so blatantly double down on that shit. And that's something that it's very technical. It's very mathematical to show them why exactly they are wrong. And I think Dr. Dan Stern Cardinal is working on that part of it. But we're going to come back on that too. You have to show why they're just full of shit. Jensen uses these stupid little spreadsheets, like Excel spreadsheets, to do his genetics, whereas the guys that are really doing this stuff are using like supercomputers to do it, and I don't know, whatever. I just woke up this morning and thought about all the shit that happened yesterday and despair.
Yeah. Which Iron Charioteer or the Iron Charioteer in the comments says that they seem to be obsessed, like with the Diet Coke reference GE made, and that's another thing they've latched onto in this entire thing, is that they've kind of made it a meme with the Diet Coke, and both me and my wife KC, she thought that we both thought it was hilarious that they're sitting there making fun of me because of the Diet Coke thing, but in John's opening statement in the recorded thing, I say the exact opposite, that it's no, like I said, that it's no more of a code than Diet Coke is, right, as far as like programming code goes. And it's like you're saying the exact opposite of what they said you said. And it's like, I know, I was using it as an analogy, obviously, but they think that, like, the way that they represent it is that I said that DNA is the exact same as Diet Coke, and that DNA is essentially Diet Coke or something. Because I know that's how that one guy that was on your channel the other day represented it. And it's like, you cannot provide me a citation where I say those exact words or anything remotely close to that. But once they get it into their heads that that's what I said, that's what I said.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what reality is to them. They just go with whatever, helps them in their endeavor.
Well, they call me Lord Pudding and Speed of Pudding, which I'm kind of beginning to like. Have you heard that one where they call me Speed of?
No, I hadn't heard that.
They, I was Smokey's pet atheist of the month. He gets a pet atheist, and he'll really be nice to you, and he seems reasonable, and then he turns on you like a fucking snake, Smokey saying. But anyway, I was on with Anthony Maurice. He's the Bio nutcake. He says the same thing over and over again. And Anthony was, he started insulting me, and it just all went to hell. Anyway, Anthony was suggesting that we basically put a bunch of biochemicals in a vat and wait for it to turn into life. He thinks that's how we're supposed to be doing research. He doesn't like the fact that we use purified reagent and controlled circumstances to figure out each step of how abiogenesis could have happened. So yeah. I asked him, I said, Anthony, do you think the world was one big tub of pudding or something like that? And they mistook that to mean that I was suggesting, I don't know, but they picked up on it and they won't let it go. And what they don't realize is that I was calling Anthony Pudding Brain Maurice Pudding Brain, and I was basically criticizing him, and they won't let it go. So it becomes a thing. Like, they're going to latch on to shit in this talk right here, and they're going to do the same thing, and they're going to keep doing it. And
they seem to always do that. That's them latching on to things is kind of like the standard thing that they do.
Well, if you listen to them late at night, or if you listen to them talk to each other, you'll hear a different kind of talk. And they will talk about how they need to convert us, and how they need to, it's almost like Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on your door, and they've got this spiel that they're working out, right? And Smokey and Nicholas, I listen to them talk about how they break down an atheist. And so that's kind of what they're doing, but this whole new wave of using science vernacular and pretending they're scientists to do it is what really disturbs me. You know what I mean? They're doing the same preachy bullshit. They're supposedly trying to convert us to Christianity, and they're doing it by pretending they're scientists now, which is a whole new look for creationists that's developed in the last 15, 20 years. That is disturbing, and that's the shit that we have to really push back on.
Yeah, I know that the the chat was talking about the Nicholas Whitmire guy.
Yeah.
He actually wanted to debate me on whether or not I've lied.
Did you see the thing I did with him?
I did. I saw it, and I mean, sorry he came in there basically throwing me at you.
Yeah, and I hadn't gone over all your dialogue yet, so I wasn't. He was, I don't know. His whole job was, he said he was coming on to embarrass me, and then when he came on, I think the guy was acting sort of like he was trying to come in hot and heavy, and I don't think his heart was really in it, because I've listened to him in other venues, and he is a better person, slightly better person than what he came off in the beginning, but he certainly didn't embarrass me, he embarrassed himself. But I don't know. I tried to recover I was getting pissed off. I mean, I was I could lose it pretty easily with these guys. I lost it with Anthony Maurice on Smokey's channel. He called me a clown or something. I just fucking lost it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I really don't blame you for losing it. I mean, these people can be very aggravating, so I mean, I understand it. It's kind of it's difficult for me at times too. So I wouldn't beat yourself up too much over it.
Yeah, I'm just not prepared. Like, you expect honest dialogue at some point, and then God, I'm very naive for expecting that sometimes from them.
Well, you see, going into the John Maddox debate, I didn't expect any kind of honest dialogue out of him.
Yeah.
Like that was just something that I knew wasn't going to happen,
Yeah, I came at him because he appeared shaved with a shaved head, talking about how there were going to be what the hell, no quarter given. And it was like an announcement, like he had just turned, it was his birthday, and he was turning over a new leaf, and he was going to become some kind of a warrior for Christ. And that, combined with the fact that he just shaved his head, I thought, this is not good. this is not good. The guy's gone off the deep. Of course, he insists that he shaved his head because it's hot out. I don't know.
I mean, you can't see me right now, but I did give myself a haircut, and it's not as close as a shave as Maddox gave himself.
Yeah.
But,
well, no, I mean, hell, shaving your head, that's okay. I got a lot of friends that do it. That's not the point. It was combined with his warrior talk that it was, the whole package was sort of disturbing to me. And then there's talk about cojones constantly, and C.O. Jones and testicular fortitude, and just the whole fucking thing. I'm just like,
what
dude.
is? I mean, I want to sincerely ask this. What is his fascination with other men's balls?
I know. We Saturday night at the Atheist, I featured a cojones plant as my icon. Every Saturday we get together, and it's sort of a no holds barred, just unleash on these fuckers, and cojones were the topic. So John's obsession with cojones. Yeah. it's just like, leave the balls alone, dude.
Well, it seems, I don't know, it seems really odd, and that comes from a guy that talks about the subjects along that line. But other than talking about Jesus's dick, I really don't talk about other people's dicks.
That's right. I don't even know if I'd go there with Jesus, but there's a sort of a sick obsession combined with Christianity about sex, and they always go there. I mean, like when they accuse us atheists of just wanting to sin, that's why we believe in evolution, because we just want to sin.
Mm-hmm.
I know what sins they're thinking about. And like, I'm almost 70 years old. I don't have a lot of that happening in my brain anymore. And I have nowhere to go with sin at this age, right? And the way I look. So it's just not going to happen. And I hear that and I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? What's the only sin I can think of is going to a Cheesecake Factory and unloading on strawberry cheesecake,
Yeah.
But I mean, that's as crazy as I get these days. So I don't know. It's just such bullshit. So what we're trying to get better production values, and we're trying to, we brought a team together. We got Molecular Alchemy, Immutable Destiny, Just a Walking Fish, Leophilius, and Midnight, and some others. And we each have our own areas of expertise. And we're going to try to put out good content with some science facts along with a little bit of fun. And hopefully we'll get better at it and be able to make a difference out here and at least counter some of this stuff, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think as long as you guys keep grinding it out, it'll work out for you. I mean, you got the expertise going, and you can get the authority in this particular vertical. So I think that you guys could do pretty well as long as you keep grinding it out.
Yeah. What are you doing on your channel?
On my channel, I do a variety of things. I made like the very, very broad vertical of like atheism and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is kind of what I do, and it's wherever atheism kind of interacts with, I guess, daily life. That would be like, proving God exists, obviously, is a pretty big one. It's actually one of the more popular subjects on the channel. But there's also, responding against creationist claims, other anti-scientific sort of claims like anti-vaxxers and flat earthers on occasion now. And then there's also my mythicist position that I do, which I'm starting to do a lot more of. And then history of the Bible is another big topic that I do a lot of. So it pretty much in the atheism genre, I guess, or niche here on YouTube, I kind of run the gambit of all the topics.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested. I consider myself a hard atheist, not an agnostic, and I have justification for believing that no God could possibly exist based on neuroscience and an understanding of what my mind is and how mind works physically. And that's like one of the big gap areas right now, consciousness and how the mind works. And I'm one of those cocky mothers that thinks I have it kind of figured out. So I don't see any possibility of mind without physicality, without a physical nervous system and brain. So I don't see how mind makes any sense at all without biology. So that's kind of where I get to my hard atheism and hard naturalism. So
that's perfectly fine. I mean, I don't go the route of saying that God definitely can't exist. But I mean, if you feel like you've got the position that you can defend on it, I mean,
yeah, I can justify
no
it,
judgment from me.
Yeah, it's just not a very popular justification. You have to go through the whole process of breaking down our ideas of consciousness and mind, because we have a lot of a lot of spirit ideas about how our mind works, and abstract. It all amounts to a big category error, and it takes a while to lay out the position. And it took me, I think, maybe 10 years of studying neuroscience and doing philosophy of the mind on a forum called Rational Skepticism, where I have 34,000 posts that kind of define my process of getting from one point to where I am now, and coming up the theories of mind that I have, that sort of thing. I'd like to do a bit of that on the channel, but I am kind of crap so far at putting out content, but I'm going to keep doing it until I get better.
Okay.
Even if it's so, I don't know. Anyway.
No, yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah. What else do you want to say about this? We're going to go over this debate in some detail, and it takes a lot of work to go through the transcript and pull things out. So keep an eye on it, and I'll let you know when we're doing a particular piece of it.
Okay.
But we are going to tear this thing apart. Every word he spoke is going to be looked at, and it's going to be exposed for the crap that it is. So.
Well, yeah, and I mean, if I say anything wrong, in the debate, then I would I'd hope that you guys would point it out, because
I found a few.
Right. Well, I mean, if there's one thing that I don't want to do, it's to spread wrong information. And I don't claim to be an expert in the field. I think I even said that in the debate, that I'm not an expert. So I'm always in a constant state of learning and doing better. So I always appreciate constructive criticism and letting me know, like, things I get wrong and things I can do better.
Yeah, we're gonna try to present some good layman information on some of that stuff, and how to basically attack this idea of information and all of that, and how to use the right words. And if you make a mistake, hell, it's not what you focus on. Why would you? But they're going to jump on it, and unfortunately for John, he has said some really dumb shit, like about what was it about membrane protein or carbohydrates reproducing themselves or something, and some other crazy ass shit. Every time they come after us, we're going to come after them with one. So, because we have the clips. So not everybody is going to get into this and spend the amount of hours that I spend every day studying this shit. So, and they use that against you when they walk into modern day debate and they smell somebody who doesn't want to talk about genetics in detail. They just go for, they just bring on their whole pseudoscience repertoire and go after them and try to embarrass them.
Yeah.
And
it seems to be a very big thing for them, is embarrassing somebody, like, grandstanding and being superior in some way. I feel like it's more of an internal need for them to feel superior to other people rather than actually prove or disprove anything.
That's the thing. This Christian love bullshit where they actually want to convert you and save your soul. I'm not seeing a whole hell of a lot. Oh, Jen Aldrich is here. Hi, Jen. I really want to talk to you. Anyway, this whole loving Christian thing, if you watch what they did to me and you last night, and some of the venom and shit they threw at us, and the shit they threw at Jimmy Snow and Jen Aldrich, and then later on at that Many, that guy from Israel that came on, there's nothing about that kind of Christianity that I would ever want. So how the hell do they think they're going to try to convert us? I mean, with that kind of venom, it doesn't make any sense. I think it's just a bunch of good old boys getting together, backslapping and finding an enemy and going after them and making their little dick seem bigger. To be blunt, that's what they're doing. God, I had a fun moment with John on condoms. He was talking about short tandem repeats. And I said, how do you spell that, John? And he really fell for it. And I was like, short condom repeat? It's like, and he didn't realize I was fucking with him. So he said, Google it. Anyway, I am a bit of a troll sometimes in their chat.
Yeah. I mean, I'm guilty of doing that as well. So
well, you can stir them up and basically, I'll go out there and throw in 3 chats and they'll talk about me for 15 minutes and call me irrelevant, which is kind of ironic. So anyway, okay. Well, anything else we want to cover?
I mean, I don't know. I don't have anything else to cover. Exactly. As far as the debate goes, I mean, I never think that I do perfect in a debate, and there's always room for improvement, especially with me, just because I don't specialize in the area of evolution. I'm a what you would consider a layman in it, but at least I don't try to present myself as an expert in these situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. No matter how much I learn about this or how much I know, when they come up with something, I actually have to go and check it out to make damn sure that there's something. I know 1% of the field now, and if I work for the next 20 years, I'll know 3% of the field.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they feel that they know 99% of the field, or they know 105%. They know more than scientists do. But I don't have that luxury. I like to be correct when I open my mouth. So I don't open my mouth as much as they do. Hence, I can't go on a good Gish Gallop. Yeah. I don't know. We need to turn that Gish thing turn it back on them at some point. I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Anybody on our side though isn't necessarily gonna want to Gish Gallop anybody because they want to make a single point and then discuss that point, which I think is a good thing to do because then it's very focused on a topic instead of just throwing a whole bunch of stuff at them at once. It kind of makes them the dick whenever they do that.
Yeah. I guess you don't want to sink to their level, but shit. So much work. I've been working about 12 hours a day on this stuff, just keeping up with what's going on and trying to counter a little bit of it as much as I do. And it's like a full-time job. And at some point, I'm going to have to go back and take a contract again. So anyway. Okay. Well, I think we can end. What do you think?
Sure, if you want to. You said that you'd found a couple of things.
Oh yeah, you want to go over?
If there's something wrong that I said, I'd like to know what I said wrong.
Oh, something about mitochondria creating proteins or something. It's ribosomes create proteins. That was the only thing I found wrong. Other than that, you did pretty good. It's just terminology and getting, like I say, if you don't do this stuff every day, but just right. Other than that, and maybe Saib's what is his name? Seigart. He did a thing on why we should back down on saying that it's not a code, and it is kind of a code in a way because what John was trying to say in his little tiny uneducated way is that when that codon is translated into an amino acid, there's an adapter molecule that kind of fits in the middle, and that adapter molecule could have been a different way. So the code could have been a different way. But what you said is that it was selected for naturally, and that is the consensus in the industry right now, is that the reason that code is very efficient is because it was selected for. And it was the code that ended up creating the least amount of problems. And Oh, there are mitochondrial proteins. Molecular Alchemy is on here. He's one of our he checks me when I get shit wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I think I just got mixed up with what
You did.
creates the amino acids.
They're gonna jump on you for that, so we are going to defend you.
Well, I mean, I get Sygart wanting to, have people shy away from not calling DNA a code, but again, I feel like the entire conversation is being framed by the creationists who are making the argument, because the argument isn't that DNA can't be interpreted as a code, or it doesn't conform to what we would call a code, right? The whole idea is that it's not a programming code or a programming language or a code in the sense of a written program. That particular equivocation that they make is prevalent, and they've kind of set the scene for it. So, I mean, I would use the terminology genetic code. I would agree that there are different things that are coded for in the DNA, or in our DNA, and we can interpret that as code. But I mean, that doesn't make it a code as in like a creator created it specifically to communicate like a message or something like that. That's the nuance that they are not really telling people about.
Yeah, and the reason what Sygart missed, and he was way off base in his video at the end of it. What he missed is that the reason that we push back on them is because we know where they're trying to lead us. I mean, you can feel it, right? You can see it coming a mile away, and we're going to push back on this bullshit. And as far as it being a programming code with John, is if then else. Well, you and I are both coders, and we know that if then else doesn't quite cover the complexity of a programming language. There are a lot more semantics in it than that, and
right. And I mean, that's why. That's why in the debate in the debate, I was trying to get him to distinguish the if then thing from just cause and effect.
Yeah,
because I mean, if then is a cause and effect, but like if then in a programming language is completely different from the cause and effect kind of if then, that exists with DNA.
Well, for one thing, with a program, when you write a program, if it came along and hit your if statement or your while loop or whatever, and it took your conditional as sort of a suggestion, like maybe sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't, that would be a problem for a program. That's how the cell works. The cell doesn't always do exactly what that pathway would have it do. I mean, like I think 20% of the proteins that start getting made get ejected and eaten, basically get torn apart because they're mistakes. It's just over and over again. There's a lot of stopping and starting, and it's all analog. It's not digital, and it's not like a programming language. The other thing about a programming language is that a particular programming language has a set of rules and generators that create a very specific set of valid statements, right? And that there's nothing like that in DNA in the cell that I can think of that would make. But I mean, you can always come up with an abstract mathematical way to look at the cell, as a code or as this or biosemiotics or that. But to call it that as blatantly as he does is just stupid. It's just and to call it binary, what the fuck is that? I mean, why would it be binary?
Yeah, I don't exactly know what he meant by that. Did he say that in the debate that it was binary?
Yeah,
I can't.
He doubled down on it here. What did he say? He was like, "Where are you? Oh my god!" I'm trying to find the part that I clipped out. Genetic code, AUG. Let's see, where's he talking about it? There was one part in there where right after he attacked your credentials, he said, "Okay, first off, How is binary and genetic code corollary? Okay, so a in binary equals 010001, which is wrong. Genetic code AUG equals start. I mean, there's syntax. He just goes on and he starts mumbling. So he didn't really make a case, but he was like trying to tell you that it was binary, and you were saying no. You were saying that binary is like, either 5 volts or 0 volts, either on or off, right? That's binary. In codes, you could find something like that in biology. The thing is, biology is so complex that you could compare it to your golden lab, come up with a valid analogy.
Well, yeah, but like what I feel like he's missing, what he's missing at the heart of it, though, is that in order to get a out of that binary string of numbers, you have to interpret it.
Yeah. That code was decided. That's why it's called ASCII. I think it stands for I can't remember, but it stands for an organization that made code.
Well, yeah. And so, like, the fact that you have to interpret it, and the fact that I say you can interpret it as code, that's literally what we're doing with binary and how computers work. We interpret the low voltage as one value and the high voltage as another value, and so we interpret it as a code, and we interpret these things, like we interpret that string of zeros and ones as the ASCII character code A. And so, like, that's he just completely jumps across the fact that we have to interpret it.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, God, I lost my train of thought. The train went off the tracks. He was, and then he went on and he was talking about that $10 million prize, and it hasn't been won yet. Well, of course it hasn't. It's going to be a difficult problem. I don't know if you remember that part where he was talking about the $10 million prize.
Well, yeah, that's when he was grandstanding and trying to act like I was saying something that I need, like he was using an ad populum argument or an argument from authority to suggest that I am wrong or something.
Yep.
Instead of actually proving that I was wrong.
Yeah, but then he went on and he put his foot in his mouth because what that prize is about was not what he said it was about later. So he kind of screwed that up.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, we cut him. This part right here, I'm not sure if I can make that a little bigger, but in the beginning of the thing, and I think we're going to get into this in a little more detail on Saturday Night at the Atheist, but he said this. Okay, so if this temporal variable, the timeline of the embryo development is in play, so he's talking about embryogenesis, then have this regulatory component execute express this gene in this manner. When this variable is no longer in play, then move said control variable to a different section of the genome, reinsert through retrotranscriptase, and now we have an entirely different outcome. That is pure fucking gibberish. He pulled that right out of his ass. And that's what I was talking about what? So this control variable, which is probably a regulatory protein, somehow inserts itself into the fucking genome. And it's like, when I read that, I'm like, my brain exploded. And he got away with it. And he had that cocky look on his face, like he knew what he was talking about. And now, tonight he's going to do a comeback video on this. He goes, I got some papers, and it's like, oh, fuck you, John. But wow, how can you say something like that and get away with it? And nobody comes down on you. Well, he didn't get away with it. I caught him.
Well, I mean, because I remember him doing this, and he's trying to explain why DNA or the DNA the processes that DNA goes through is a genetic is actual programming code. But
right.
The thing that he inserts into it is the idea that the idea that the DNA knows what's going to happen next instead of it just being cause and effect, which is, and I see in the show notes there where I say differentiate cause and effect from if then. And, that's when he's like, it literally is a cause and effect. And I'm like, well, that's my point.
Yeah.
And his whole point is that it requires foreknowledge of the outcome, but I really don't think that it is. Like, I just don't see that the foreknowledge that needs to be there for DNA to operate.
Well, early on, he found this ribosomal pausing thing that was made famous by a couple of intelligent design snake oil salesmen called David Abel and D'Onofrio. I think it's Vincent. And he threw that at RJ in Modern Day Debate, and few people had ever heard of it. It's actually in all the textbooks, this bit about ribosomal pausing or whatever, and it become a big buzzword for him. But anyway, so he comes up with this temporal code, and then there's the if you listen to Cell Cordova, he talks about the 4D genome, and I mean they keep bringing up everything we've discovered about the cell and DNA in the last 20 years as being this complex magic, and when you actually add it all up, what it looks like is a big fucking puddle of chaotic mud. And the only reason that the chaotic mud keeps producing new generations is because of natural purifying selection. But I mean, there's nothing intelligently designed. Like, you've seen a good pile of spaghetti code, right? Where you keep throwing mud at the mud ball code. You got some bad code, you keep throwing mud at it. That's exactly what we're seeing today. And every paper that comes out tells us about a new little blob of mud that natural selection has thrown at the cell. There's nothing ingenious about it. I mean, it's interesting because it's so complex, but there is no forethought involved in this. If there was, whoever forethought that needs to be put in a straitjacket and given some medication. Anyway. Oh, but there's more. I mean, this is, I don't know. It's like a smorgasbord. I don't know which debate to take apart and do this with, because I go through and I break it up into lines and I take a look at it. And it's like, what did he just say? I want to do this with Standing for Truth on one of his Gish Gallops, because holy shit, he throws out a lot of stuff that just doesn't make any sense. Okay, good. Need to talk to you, Jen. That whole thing with Jen Aldridge last night pissed me off. I came as close to hate as I have been in 50 years last night when I was listening to that, and it just really irritated me. And then when you call him on it, he threw me back some idiom from the Bible about a grain of sand in your eye, or a spot of sawdust in my eye, and a 2x4 in your, I don't know what the hell he was saying, but it just irritated me. When I remember when I was in 6th grade, when the girls started growing breasts, we were very confused by it and very, very concerned and alert to it. But by 7th grade, we got over it. I mean, fuck, these guys never did. And
yeah.
I have we're going to go over that little piece in detail. So anyway, okay, I don't know.
No, yeah, and I'll definitely be watching whenever you guys continue the review and stuff, because I mean I want to know all the bull crap that he said, because here's the thing is that in debates you're never going to be able to address every single thing that the opponent says. So generally I try to focus on one or two things that I'm trying to make him either admit or prove or something like that. So that's why I didn't really address the gibberish that he said right there. And I was really just looking for him to differentiate between, cause and effect and if then. So obviously in a retrospective, like you guys are doing, you're going to be able to catch every single thing that he said. So I think that it's going to be a good thing for you guys to go through it.
Yeah, but even us, when we're when we're listening to it live, or if we're in a debate, a lot of this stuff we don't catch because you're trying to parse his sentence. I mean, his sentences are so twisted and inside out. I mean, this man can butcher a sentence like nobody I've ever seen. It throws you and you miss it, and you don't do the right comeback. But you did a really good job of trying to bring him back on the course, but he just kept slamming shit at you, and it was, and I think you gave up pretty early, right? You said, "Fuck it, let's go to discussion."
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
because it was obvious that it was bullshit, that you were being railroaded.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I wasn't going to sit there and try to like put up a defense of evolution because evolution's the consensus. So he's got to be the one to actually bring up evidence like against evolution. So that's why I wanted to get into the discussion section is so that he could bring up like his evidence against evolution, and I could try to figure out why he's wrong.
Yeah, I haven't even gotten to that discussion portion yet. That's another gold mine, probably. I don't know. And then the people you had in chat over there were running about 95% bullshit and
Mhm.
and 5%. That's why I really don't care to go on their channels anymore and give them the opportunity to use us as fodder for their their proselytizing or whatever.
No, yeah, I totally respect that. I mean, I'm pretty much of the same. I'm of the same persuasion now. I just would rather not even give them that kind of satisfaction.
Yeah, well, after the whole Smokey fiasco, I stated that we are going to talk about them, not to them so much. Standing, I will, and Sal Cordova, he's a decent man, but for the most part, most of them I just don't have. Maddox, if he does want to come on and defend one paper, I'll be glad to have him on, but it's going to be on my channel, so he can't mute me like he was doing last night to the gentleman from Israel that stopped in, and everybody else, he mutes you as soon as you say something. He did it to Leo Filius on a stream a few days ago. Just insane. No sense giving them that power,
No. I completely agree.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, let's see. What else we got in chat here? Oh my God. That is my son's very strange ring. Do you hear that?
No.
Oh, good. My phone went off, and it feeds back through my Mac. I wasn't sure if the sound came on, but what else we got? Well, we'll just go through in detail. We'll include you in our invite list for Saturday Night at the Atheist, and I'm guessing at some point we almost filled up last Saturday, but it's cool to have people stop by and do a little venting.
Yeah, I probably would be able to stop by for a little bit, but probably not long. But it would I'll definitely be listening.
Well, having you say hi and give us a nod would help us greatly. So I've got like 100 subscribers, so I'm and very few views. So not many people are taking notice of us yet. But today's pretty damn good. So I got to thank you for stopping by.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate being able to come on here and talk with you and try to vent, I guess, a little bit over the frustration that all this has caused.
Yeah, and that's we have to. We're gonna go crazy if we just don't have an opportunity to talk to each other and throw some of this shit out there and just get some raw emotion out, I guess, occasionally. But anyway. So end this and chat for a while after?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you all for showing up. It's pretty cool. It's more than I've ever had. It's sad. So anyway, see you guys.
Bye.